Hey guys, so today is kind of a story time video because I was supposed to be on vacation this weekend. And sorry, I'm trying to back up so I focus, and I'm not. I'm back home. And it was just such an obnoxious weekend. And I just feel like I need to vent, you know? I just need to let it out, and then it is what it is at this point. I'm trying not to harp on it, but it's so annoying that I should be relaxing and in a nice log cabin in the woods right now, and I'm not. And my skin is also peeling, so I'm sorry in advance about that. This freaking rosacea, I need more meds, and it's getting really out of hand. Side note. Okay, so we were supposed to be out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we rented a cabin. Just disappointed, you know, like you had all these high hopes in your mind, like it's gonna be so relaxing, I'm gonna have these days off from work, it's gonna be so nice, and I'm gonna be in a hot tub relaxing, and it's just gonna be amazing, you know, like this is how this went. Before the trip, we planned out to do all these different activities, and we were like, okay, cool, we're gonna like hit up this place, we're gonna go to this winery, we're gonna go to this park, we're gonna take lots of pictures. It's just gonna be a really fun vacation, you know, just like a little touristy stuff but a lot of relaxing. We had planned this whole thing out, and none of it happened. It's just really annoying. Okay, so let me tell you what ended up happening, and why I'm home now. So, and it was supposed to be a really cool travel vlog too. So like I did do some like a little bit of vlogging stuff, like a little bit of video and stuff like that, but it was mostly disappointing. So I didn't end up videotaping or taking a ton of pictures like I wanted to. So anyway, this cabin is in over like past Seattle, like by Everett. It's on Widbey Island, and it is so nice. Like the pictures were beautiful, and I was like sold. I want to be there, you know. Like we went through like VRBO just to rent this place, and we've gone through VRBO a lot. Okay, so I wasn't really worried about that because we've done it so many times. Like a lot of times when we take these small trips, we do that all the time, and it's never been a problem. So this time, beforehand, we looked up the weather, and the weather was like, okay, it's gonna be like 50 degrees or 40 to 50 degrees. It's gonna be sunny. It's gonna be nice. Okay, so I'm like, okay. And that was like a week or two before this. So I'm like, felt confident that we were doing good. Made a mistake because we didn't buy trip insurance. Slow blink. And I kept thinking like, well, there's no way we're not gonna go because I just got the time off. Everything's good. We're like set to go, you know? It's gonna be great. So I didn't buy trip insurance. Mistake one. You know, it was kind of a little pricey, but I kept thinking like, this is a really nice size house. It's gonna be on a lake. It's just beautiful. It's very private. It's gonna be amazing. So it's gonna be worth that money to me. There, or like a few days before, we realized that it's gonna snow, and I was like, crap, okay, well, but the thing is, we have like an all-wheel drive vehicle, we have chains. It didn't look like it was gonna snow that much, and plus a lot of times here it like hypes snow so much, like it's there like every day, and it kept changing, and it was getting better, and then it was getting worse, and then it was getting better. So I was like, I don't think they really know. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. So we decided to still go. We didn't cancel it or anything, and probably that would have been the smart thing to do, but we obviously aren't smart, so we just kept going with the idea. And then I kept thinking like, I've already taken the time off, like you've taken the time off, like we already have everything packed. It's gonna be fine, you know, like we're just gonna be extra prepared, extra cautious, and then we'll be fine. So instead of bringing like the Prius, we brought the SUV, we brought the chains, we went and got extra food for the weekend because we're like, we might not be able to get out easily to be able to go to like do all these activities we were gonna do, but we already paid for it, and I think, well, whatever, it'll just be like a relaxing time then. So, because the primary thing we wanted to go there for is because it had a hot tub right on the deck, like near this lake. And I was like, that's gonna be so beautiful, and it's a really wooded, serene area. So that was like one of the primary selling points for me. So I was like, if we don't get to do it as many activities, then whatever, we already paid for it, and it's fine because we'll just like stay inside and play cards, and it'll just be like us time, you know, and it'll be nice. So that was the plan. So we brought like extra things to do, and we went to the store before we got there, and we got like extra firewood, and we got like, even I was down to like, oh my gosh, what if they don't have enough toilet paper because we might not be able to get out. So like get toilet paper, get like all the essential things that you would need in case you're cooped up, you know. So we bought all that stuff, went there, brought it with us. So on the way there, like it wasn't snowing, like it's really not even that cold, so I'm not that worried, you know. So we get onto the island, it's still not snowing, we go to the store to pick up the food, all that stuff. It starts to snow, but it's kind of like snowing a little bit, and it wasn't like that much, and it wasn't even doing anything on the ground. So I was like, I think we're fine, you know, it looks like nothing, you know. So we're driving there, and the island, when you first get on the island, that town wasn't doing anything, and then as we drove closer, it was starting to snow harder. So I was like, okay, but I feel like we're still doing okay, like the roads look not that bad, you know? So we start getting closer to our destination. The roads are getting worse and worse and worse. They're getting like ice covered because people have drove on it so much and it's getting really like frosty. So I'm like, okay, we just have to drive safer, like we'll be fine, we're almost there, it's like a few more miles. So first incident, we have a car ahead of us, they have to make a left, right? And it's like one lane on each side. So they stop and they're like waiting. Well, we're like trying to stop. My car is like, no, I'm not gonna stop. So even though we're like, tap, tap, tap on the brake, tap, 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 stop, 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 our car proceeds to like almost run into them, to the point where we're like riding to the side of their car like, okay, we might run into a ditch, to try to avoid them. So that was already terrified enough. I was like, oh my God, we're on ice. And I already have so much anxiety with snow driving, like riding, and they were sliding past them. Luckily they got out of the way and we just happened to slide past them. Luckily we didn't like fly off the road or anything. So I'm already like, oh my gosh, like we haven't even made it to the house yet, we've almost died. Like in my mind, we're almost dead. So because the road is really like slick on the side and then it goes off to an embankment, and I was like, I don't want to be on the embankment here. So especially since I'm on that side. So we go past that car and then the road is up ahead. So I'm like, boy, you need to stop like way early, because obviously this car is not going to do well. It's to get onto the little house road, you know, where the house is. So we start slowing down way in advance, way in advance, way in advance, way in advance. My car still, it goes, here's the street, my car just goes right past it. So like we're way up the road now, still trying to stop the car. I'm like, okay, well, there's a light up here. Maybe we can like somehow make a U-turn, but I'm really scared to get off on these side roads because I don't know what they're going to be up to either. So after we pass it, and I'm really scared because I'm like, we're just skidding like way past where we were trying to go. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like how are we going to get this freaking boat turned around here? So then we get the car. So we're on the other side of the road now, and Real is over here. There's no way to make a U-turn unless you make in the street. So I'm just sort of like, oh my gosh, this is like so scary because this car is just all over the place. It's just not controllable at all. So it's just everywhere. So we do that, we turn around, like he goes, okay, well, I'm gonna wait here at this little light because no one's behind me or in front of me or whatever, and then as soon as we have a chance, it's clear on both sides, I'm gonna just make a U-turn in the middle of the street, like a wide U-turn. I'm like, okay. So our car meanwhile is going all over the place. It's like I'm like, I'm for sure gonna die, like this is it, like I'm dying, this is our vacation, we're just gonna die on vacation. So I'm like hyperventilating because I'm so nervous. Like, we're gonna get a car accident, we're gonna get a car accident, we're gonna get a car accident. This is happening. Like, so I was already over the whole vacation by the time we got there. I like was just dead. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm so scared. So George's like trying to calm me down. Like, we're fine. Like, we're gonna be okay. Like, we're on the road. Like, we're not off the road. Meanwhile, I'm like, we're off the road. We're gone. Like, I was just gone at this point because I was like so scared. Like, we're gonna fucking die. Like, there's just no way. Sorry the language, but I'm just like terrified. So we get over to the little side street, and the side street has powder snow, so it was more grippy. So we didn't like, you know, we get off the road finally after all this like commotion in the middle of the main road to get to the side roads. We get on the side road. We're going down the hill, everything's fine, like it's all powder snow, so we like get there to the destination. I'm like, I've never wanted to be in one place so bad in my life, like, and just be out of this car. So, and we get out of the car, get our stuff unpacked, all this stuff. Things are going well, I think, because I'm like, okay, cool, so we're here. I get 3 days of relaxing before we have to do that again. It'll be okay, you know, like we'll be okay. So we get our stuff out, everything, we get in the house. The house is beautiful, like so beautiful, like just such a beautiful log cabin, and it's on this beautiful setting. We find out actually that it wasn't as private as I thought it was because it said private, but there's actually like multiple homes around our home, but they're all with the same company, I guess. That are rentals as well. So it wasn't as private as I thought, but I was like, okay, well, whatever, because like it seems still private enough to me, and it didn't look like there was anybody there. So I was like, okay, I think it's still fine. So I wasn't that upset about that. So our house is like the best one on the setting. It was just so beautiful. I was like, this is gonna be so exciting. I've never stayed in a log cabin before, like a real authentic log cabin. So excited, you know. So we get out, get all our stuff in the house. I realized it's kind of cold in there, but I was like, it says in the home guide that they turn the heat off in between rentals and stuff like that, so I wasn't that worried, you know. I was like, okay, well, it's probably just cold because the heat needs to be turned on, whatever, that's fine, everything's good. I go over there to turn the heat thing on. Well, I realize the heat's already on, and I'm like, well, maybe if they cleaned it right before we got there and they turned the heat on, maybe it just hasn't had time to warm up because it's a bigger place, you know. And the other thing is too, in the ad it said that it had central, right? So I'm thinking, like, this doesn't look like central. It's like a wall unit that's up on the high part of the wall. So like, that's kind of weird. It looked like just a basic air conditioner, like, that's up on the wall, but it's a heat air conditioner unit. So I was like, okay, well, I guess, whatever, you know, it is what it is. We're gonna light a fire and all that stuff, so I'm sure it'll be fine, you know. Because, like, at this point, I'm like so over the moon because it was such a beautiful place. I was like, we're gonna have a hot tub and it's so beautiful and it's gonna be worth it, you know. Like, just, I don't care about simple stuff like that, you know. So I think it's gonna be fine. So I turn the heat on. I realize it's in Celsius. I'm like, okay, well, great. Let me go convert that over. Okay, so it says it's supposed to be on 80 like 2 or something. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty high to have the heat on, but maybe if they just turned it on, then obviously it hasn't heated up enough. Hot tub, it's like a nice 104. It was like heaven, you know. We get in the hot tub and there's like snow coming down and the lake is covered in snow, and it was just beautiful, like the most beautiful setting you can think of. So everything was just amazing. So we're like having the best time. Everything's great. So we get in, even though it was kind of like a little like when you're in the hot tub and you're like, yes, everything's wonderful, it's snowing on me, but I don't really care, all that, because you're in the hot tub and it's like 104 degrees. So we get out, we cover the hot tub. The other thing is too, like, we got in the hot tub, George is like, the hot tub's really dirty, it looks gross, because it looked like algae had started growing in it, and I was like, you know what, at this point, I'm freaking cold, I'm stressed out, I don't care, like, you know, I can take a shower later, who cares? Anyway, to me, it was not a big deal. So, I was not that concerned about it, but, I mean, it was like another sign of something that was amiss, you know? So we get in the hot tub, we enjoy it, everything's great, we put the cover back on. Oh, and that was another thing too, it has like a little stand thing, and we've been to a lot of places that have hot tubs, right? So we've seen these before, and it's basically to set the top up off the ground and make it easier to uncover the hot tub, right? So that was like all broken, it wasn't even put on right. I was like, okay, well, this person, maybe they just bought it and they don't really know how to use it, whatever, like, who cares, let's just fix it for them. So we fixed it, put it on how it's supposed to be on, everything, that way we could use it the rest of the weekend like normally. Do all that stuff, fix it, put it away. When we get out, of course, it's like tons of snow on the ground, so we're like, ah, get back in. Anyway, covered it up, get back in, right? So we go in and we're like, man, it's still pretty cold in here. But, you know, it's only been like an hour or so, so whatever. So we go upstairs, we're hauling all our stuff upstairs to the bedroom area. And it's super hot up there, like really hot, but it like feels good because it's so cold outside, you know? So I'm like, man, it feels so good up here. Like, and I look at the heater, it's got the same type of heater, like a wall unit. I look, and then it's got this almost the same settings, except this one's in Fahrenheit. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna take a picture of the settings here and then just make sure it matches downstairs, because this is something I never messed with before. So I take a picture of the settings from upstairs, because those ones are obviously working. They're like doing a really good job. So I go back downstairs, I look up the manual, everything for this unit, because I'm like, well, maybe I'm just doing something wrong, like it's not on right or something. So I end up going in front to fix the remote and do all this stuff, like trying to make it work the best I can. And I even changed the exact same settings as the other remotes. I'm like, it should be really hot down here eventually. Like, it might not be as hot because obviously that's a smaller area. I get that. But at least it should be like kind of tolerable down here. So I'm like doing my own thing. We try to build a fire, and then our fire keeps going out, and I'm like getting annoyed by that, because I'm like, we bought seasoned wood, and we're like, we get the fire really built up, and then all of a sudden it's like, shh, out. Okay, cool, well, that's not gonna help us. And even when the fire was like raging, it was still freezing. So I was like, okay, well, it's really cold. It's like snowing outside, you know, like 20 something degrees. It's kind of cold. So that whole day we just kind of like dealt with it. And then when we were like out of the hot tub and we weren't dealing with anything, we would just go upstairs and kind of like just hang out up there because it was too cold. I mean, downstairs, I don't think unless I've been outside, I don't think I've ever been that cold. Like, it was cold. Like, you want to go in the kitchen, you're like, get my stuff, leave. Like, go upstairs and eat. You can't even stay downstairs long enough to eat. It was so cold. So I was getting really annoyed by that. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it just needs longer to heat up, because like, if they didn't cut it on, they just cut it on right before we got there, and we just got here. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of a doubt, you know? So I have the heater ginning. I have like us trying to build a fire. I'm trying to do everything I can to like make it as warm as possible downstairs. Which the downstairs was the most amazing part. That was one of the things we came there for, because it has giant windows and it has like this nice fireplace, and there's like a little den area, and the kitchen's really big. So that was like one of the biggest selling features, was the downstairs. So the whole point was to be down there most of the time and then just go upstairs to bed, you know? So, yeah, that was the end. And plus, when you come in from the hot tub, obviously you want to be into a warm house. You don't want to be in a freezing house. So later on, we're still doing the heat. The heat keeps cutting on and off, on and off, on and off. It's just cycling on and off. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know why it's doing that. Like, it's not, I have it on, just on, you know, it's not on like a weird mode or anything, as far as I can tell from the manual. So, I don't know. We just kept giving it more time, because in my mind I was like, I don't want them to say that we didn't give it enough time or anything. So we just go out to the hot tub. The second time we go out to the hot tub, it's cooler this time. That was another issue. So we get in the hot tub and it's like 95 degrees, which isn't horrible, but it was cooler than definitely the first time. And it was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if it's because it's so cold outside that like the hot tub's having a hard time keeping that exact heat. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt best I can. So we get in the hot tub. The second time, still enjoyable. You know, it was snowing a lot harder on us and stuff like that, so it was a little more cold. We get out freezing, put the cap on, go back inside. And when we go inside, it's still freezing. So like, you go in from like freezing to like freezing, you know, there's no like reprieve. So we're like going to the bathroom, take off wet clothes, put them in the shower, like, put your clothes back on. You're like, you know, like, the whole time, you're like literally that cold. So getting my clothes on, wrapping up and then I only brought like just regular sweats, like maybe like a short sleeve shirt and a pair of yoga pants. I didn't bring like super thick clothes. Like, I only brought one really thick outfit because I thought we're gonna go inside and out maybe once. So I didn't pack for that, because I'm thinking like, it's not, we're gonna be inside, you know what I mean? Didn't realize this. So we have to go straight upstairs afterward. Like, don't even want to go downstairs that long, like, unless you're just grabbing something and leave. And I mean, the temperature difference was so great. Like, when you go up the stairs, like, you get up the 4th step or something to the staircase. Even the staircase was like hot, ice cold. Like, that was such a difference. Like, literally that level was just freezing. Like, the stair was freezing, everything. So we're like, okay, well, we're just not gonna be able to stay downstairs pretty much that long. So we would go upstairs and we would hang out, and they had a little TV up there, and we would just watch TV up there and just hang out. Which, I mean, the upstairs was nice and it was warm up there, but at the same time, it's like, you're thinking, I paid all this money, I can only use half the house. Like, this is insane. Anyway, so later on, we go in the hot tub one more time before the end of the night, right? We go downstairs, we're like, okay, get the clothes on, get in the hot tub as fast as possible because it's cold. So we get in the hot tub again for the 3rd time that night. And the next time we get in there, it is 93 degrees, which I was like, 93? It's getting colder every time we get in here. Like, and you think like, well, whatever, 93 is not that big of a deal. It is in a hot tub because you want to be hot, and you get in there and you're like, this is kind of cold, and it's snowing on me simultaneously. So I'm getting cold from outside and I'm getting cold down here because it's not that warm. So I was like, okay, we can't even stay in here that long. It was like to the point where we're like, okay, well, we set a timer for 30 minutes and we're like, we might need to get out in 10. So it was already too cold. So we like get back out, we close the top up, then we go back in the house. And I'm like looking at the guide, like, is there anything it says about the hot tub? Like, do I need to do something different? Like, why is it, I've never had it where it keeps getting colder as the day progresses, you know, like, I don't know what I need to do. And we did try to turn the jets on because I figured, okay, well, in the past, we've always turned the jets on and that kind of cycles the water and makes it warm up. Like, it kind of gets the motor running or whatever. So we turn the jets on every single time we're in the hot tub. Nothing happens. It's like cold water hitting you. You're like, man, this sucks, you know? So we put the top back on, we go in the house, we proceed to do the same thing where we're like stepping in snow to get out of the hot tub, cover it in your bare feet with the snow, run in the house, freezing to death, and then the house is ice cold, and you're like, and then you're like putting your clothes back on, and then you have to go back upstairs to like hang out, you know? It was like such a shit show. So I was like, okay, tomorrow morning, because it was late at this point, I was like, tomorrow morning for sure, if the heat is not any better, like we're gonna have it on all night, if the heat's not better, then I have to call them, because like there's got to be something else going on. Like, is the heater broken? Like, is there some way they can fix it? Am I doing something wrong? Like, what's going on? Like, because there's no heat down here. So I call the management company or whatever the next day, and they tell us, they're like, oh, well, do you have the heater on? I'm like, well, duh, yeah, obviously I have the heater on. I said, you know, this is all the settings. I said I matched all the settings to the upstairs unit. The upstairs units worked perfectly the whole time, but it's never gotten any warmer. Even, like, to be honest, like, the dining room table's here, right, and the AC unit or heating unit was right here, and then if you're sitting directly under it, you couldn't even feel it. That's how little it was working. And it was on 88 degrees. I've never even turned a thermostat on 88 degrees before. That's insane. And I never, like, you could not even feel air coming out. So then you're like, I don't know what else I can do. Like, it is on full blast. That's as high as the temperature goes. I can't even feel it coming out when I'm standing next to the unit. I mean, I did everything I could think of to do with the manual. So they're like, okay, we're going to send someone out. And they're like, well, did you find the space heaters? And I'm like, there's space heaters? They're like, yeah, they're in the closets. We go through every single closet, cannot find one space heater. So I'm like, okay, well, there's no space heaters here. So they're supposed to have 2. We had 0. So we had 0 space heaters. They're like, I was like, yeah, we built a fire. It keeps going out. It won't stay on long enough to do anything. And even when the fire was completely raging, you could put your hands right up to the grit thing, or not the grate, but the grate. You could put your hands like right, almost touching it, and not feel anything. It was weird. I don't know why it was like that. Like, I mean, the fire was like, you know, you couldn't feel anything. It literally did nothing. So I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, we're doing everything humanly possible that we can do. And then I mentioned too, I was like, the hot tub also is getting colder. I don't know if it's because, like, I'm trying to come up with things in my mind. Like, well, maybe because of the fact that it's so cold outside that the hot tub's struggling. I don't know, because we've never been to a place where it was this cold with the hot tub. So I don't know how that works. And I don't have a hot tub of my own. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of a doubt. They're like, oh, well, it's on economy mode. Well, why didn't you put that in the manual somewhere? Like, they give you a manual of like things in the house. Like, this is how this works. This is how this works. But it was a very basic manual. And it never mentions that, oh, the hot tub, it just says take a shower, like, don't be a pig, you know, that kind of stuff. And don't eat and drink in there. And that was about it. It didn't mention anything about economy mode. And I did notice it kept saying EC with the temperature, like EC temperature, EC temperature. But it doesn't have any settings to like change it or anything. It literally just has like jets, on, that sort of thing, light, you know, it had just basic buttons. So it didn't have any like settings buttons or anything like that. So I was like, well, you really should tell people that it's on economy mode, because like, I don't know that, and I don't know how to fix that. And they're like, oh yeah, well, what you have to do is you have to go out and you have to turn the jets on while the cover's on. You have to do it 30 minutes before you get into the hot tub. Okay. Well, that would have been nice, because otherwise it goes in sleep mode and it cuts off. Okay. That would be nice to have known that. You know what I mean? Like, why would you not put that somewhere? Because not everyone's going to assume that. Not everyone's going to know that. I mean, I don't know, like, unless I'm an idiot, but I've been going to these places with hot tubs for all these years now, and no one's ever mentioned doing that before. And every time we've ever gotten in, it was always warm. Like, we've never had to do anything extra, maybe turn the jets on once in a while to heat it up more if we want more heat, but we've never had to like turn the jets on with the cover on specifically and then come out 30 minutes later. We've never had to do that before. So I was like, it's so cold outside. Like, do you know how inconvenient that is? Like, first off, you want to go in the hot tub. It's freaking snowing like a foot of snow. We have to get out the sliding door, walk out there with like freaking our little sandals on, turn it on, and then come back in, wait 30 minutes, then go out. I'm like, I feel like that should have been like a main thing you told people, because not everyone's going to know to do that. And not only that, but now it's kind of like a pain in the butt to go in the hot tub, more than it already is anyway, you know, because you're still going through the snow to get there. So I'm like, okay, but I don't know any of this till the lady gets there, right? Like, I'm just sitting here like, cool. Oh, and then before she comes, we're like, you know what, let's get in the hot tub one more time before she gets here, because like, it's been a while. We got in the hot tub, it was 83 degrees. 83. It was cold. I was like, dude, this isn't even bath water temperature. Like, it is colder than bath water. So, and then like, you're already freezing getting out there because of the snow, and then it's snowing on you more, and it's 83 degrees. So I was like, this is not even relaxing at all. It's cold. Like, I'm freezing. So we're like, get out of the hot tub, like after like 1 minute or something, because we're like too cold. Get back in, put the cover back on, go in the house, all that stuff, to find that out later. So the temperature had been going from 104 all the way to 83 overnight. Okay. Cool. So we didn't know all this stuff was going on. We have our breakfast. We're like freezing to death eating breakfast. We're at the dining room table like, I'm like trying to pump up coffee because I'm like, I'm so cold. I have like a blanket on me the whole time. Like, we have slippers. We have like extra clothes on. I'm like, this is insanity. Like, we shouldn't have to do all this in the house, you know? So the lady's like, okay, I'm gonna be there, but it's gonna take a while because obviously you're snowed in and, you know, yada yada. I'm like, okay, well, I appreciate you coming out because like, I just don't know what else to do. Like, the heat, I've done everything I can think of to do. Like, I mean, I don't even feel like most people would have looked up the manual on how to like use the remote, because I'm like, well, maybe I'm stupid. I just don't know how to use this because there's all these like little symbols. So I wanted to make sure I was doing everything correct. So I go through and I'm like, okay, well, all the symbols are like this and the upstairs one's like that. So it should make sense to match. So I do all of that to find out it didn't work. Anyway, so she comes there. She's answering my text. I mean, she was very nice, okay? Like, I'll tell you, she was very nice as a maintenance person. She was giving me as much information as possible. She's like, oh, well, you're supposed to have space heaters and you don't have space heaters. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And she's like, well, I'm gonna bring you extra firewood. And I'm like, well, I appreciate you doing that. I'm not unappreciative because it looks like you're trying to help us. But the problem is like, the fire doesn't stay in there long enough. I don't know why. Like, you can light a ginormous, like a bonfire, size bonfire, and it goes out in like 2 minutes. Like, no matter how much you're poking it, no matter how much you're blowing on it, like, you're doing all this stuff, it's not staying on, and then it's not heating up the room at all. So it's kind of like, what's the point at that point to fight? I mean, we would have to stay downstairs and freeze and be fighting the fire the whole time, trying to keep it going, like, for it not to generate heat. There's no point at that moment. And we had already brought our own firewood too. Like, we brought 2 packs of firewood, so we were like trying to be on it. And in our mind, the firewood was going to be more of like an aesthetic sort of thing. It was going to be like, that'll be just nice, you know, have our hot cocoa by the fire. It wasn't going to be like, this is our main source of heat. We didn't know that at the time because it said it had central on the ad, you know, so I'm not thinking like, well, we're going to be freezing to death, so we better bring lots of firewood. Not that we'd even use most of the firewood because it didn't stay lit anyway. So, we eat breakfast, the lady comes there, she's like, hey, well, the house is really warm, actually. Like, it feels way better than it usually does. What? It's 59 degrees in the house. Like, it is not warm in here. Like, I was like, my thermostat at home, if it gets to like 69, I'm already kind of like, ooh, it's a little chilly, better get a blanket. 59? Like, I'm over here freezing to death. I have extra clothes on. I shouldn't have to wear all my outdoor clothes inside and have a blanket on still and be freezing and chattering my teeth. Like, I don't feel like that's normal. So she's like, well, you have to realize it's a 100-year-old house. It's an original log cabin. There's literally no insulation. You have these ginormous windows. I was like, I understand that. But like, why wouldn't you put better heating in here? Because it says it has central and it doesn't have central. Like, there's vents in the floor, but they were covered up. And then it only has this one wall unit and for the whole great room area. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't you have more heating in here if you know it's a big cabin with no insulation? Like, why would you have the least amount of heat in here possible? Like, and just be like, just light a fire, you'll be okay. Like, it's 20 degrees outside. Like, that's not really doing me much good here. And I mean, the heat, literally, the thermostat was going, this is the inside thermostat, was going from 59 to 56 degrees. Like, that's where it was fluctuating, no matter whether heat was on or not, or like whether the fireplace was running. It literally did nothing. It was just in that temperature range the whole time. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm paying a lot of money to stay here, and I did not anticipate not having heat. Like, that never crossed my mind. Like, that was not a thing for me. Like, I assumed everywhere, if you rent some place, it's gonna have heat. Like, that's just an essential thing in the winter. You know what I mean? Why would you rent in the winter if it doesn't have heat? That makes no sense. So she's like, okay, well, what we can do is, so at this point, I'm kind of done with the whole thing. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to stay here for all these days and be in a house I can't use. I don't want to be freezing for 3 days and 3 nights, or have to just stay upstairs the whole time, because that's silly. Like, why would you even rent? And then the hot tub's not really working that well. Why would I want to be here anymore? You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, well, I think we should just get a refund and go home. You know, I think it's just like cut our losses at this point. So they're like, well, you already stayed 1 night, so you should have to pay for that 1 night, which I was kind of already annoyed with, because I was like, you didn't advertise that you didn't have heat. Like, I feel like that should be primo advertisement. Like, by the way, you're going to be cold. Don't plan on coming here for warmth, because obviously, if you're coming there in the wintertime, you're anticipating there to be heat of some kind. You're not anticipating it to be an ice cold shed. You know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to be cold, I would be outside, but I'm not outside, and I didn't pay money to be outside. So that's kind of like my philosophy on it. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comment section what you would think. But anyway, so I told them, like, they were like, okay, well, why don't you stay in the cabin next door, because that one's empty. That one has a wood stove and baseboard heating, and it's like less than 1,000 square foot. I'm concerned here. Okay, so you know this one's like double that size. It has 1 heater for downstairs that is up on the ceiling where heat rises to the ceiling. And it doesn't work. And you know this house is super drafty. But you put the baseboard heater and the wood stove in the 1,000 square foot house that's newer. Am I the only one seeing this as a problem? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm like, what the hell? It makes no sense. If you know that one's insulated, you know that one doesn't need that much heat. Oh, she's like, oh yeah, it gets so hot in that one that people have to like open the doors. Maybe you should have swapped the heating systems. I don't know. Like, I'm over here thinking logical. Like, maybe that was my first problem. But I'm like, this makes no sense. If you have like almost, it was like a 1,600 to 1,700 square foot house that's old, has no heating system, like, or the heating system needs a lot of heat to heat it up, why would you put all the good heating systems in the other house? Still baffled by that one. So she's like, okay, well, but you could go over there and they could just use the hot tub over here. And I'm like, well, I have to walk all the way in the snow, like feet of snow, to get out in like my bathing suit, to get to the heater, to the hot tub, to turn the hot tub on, then go back to the cabin to warm up, then go back out there in 30 minutes to get in it. It just seemed really inconvenient to me, like really impossibly inconvenient. So annoyed. Anyways, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go home. Like, just screw it at this point. Like, I'm done with the whole thing. I could be home with actual heat, like actually in a heated building, like, and be comfortable and not have to deal with that. Like, I don't have to worry about going down to my kitchen and freezing to death. So I would rather just go home. So that's what we decided to do. We're like, we're gonna pack up our stuff and then go. So they're like, okay, well, we're gonna reimburse you for all the other days. Okay, that's fine. That's my thinking. Well, okay, they're just gonna charge me the night fee or whatever for the rental. So leave. We get home, like, and that was already treacherous enough because there was lots of ice and there was like snow and stuff like that. Like, luckily once we got off the island and we started getting more home, it was better. But like, initially it was already scary. I literally had a panic attack on the way. Before we got out of the driveway, perfectly fine because we had the chains on and everything. We got out to the main road, had a panic attack because the car was just moving slightly. And at that point, it was just like, I was just too set off. You know, it's like when you just start freaking out and you can't unfreak out at that point. George is like, probably didn't even know what was wrong with me. Like, what the hell? Why are you freaking out? But I'm like, he's like, we're not even like in as bad of a situation as we were before. I'm like, I don't know. But like, once you're to that point where you've already freaked out, like it's hard to wheel it back in. To the point where I'm crying and like, oh my God, and like hyperventilating. But I felt like just so much at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you're just, once you're gone, you're gone. Like, you just can't. I mean, I cried probably all the way to the ferry. That was like almost 45 minutes. And we were not even in danger at that point. I was still crying. Like, I just couldn't do it. Like, I was just so upset. And I'm also that type of person that bundles things up for a really long time. But I just was like so scared. I was like, we're gonna like freaking die. This car's not any good. Like, and this whole vacation's been shit. And it's just like, I was just too upset, you know? So I finally calmed myself down before we got on the ferry, because I was like, I'm gonna be sitting next to a bunch of parked cars, bawling my eyes out for like, you know, I mean, I guess it was for a reason at this point, but not anymore, because we were fine at that point. I was still just upset. This is such a crappy vacation, because now we took off days that were just like, cool, I guess we're just gonna be home, because I mean, I don't really want to have to go back to work either, because I took those days off. I was all excited about having those days off. Now I'm like, well, this sucks, I'm gonna be home anyway. So, and the more I like look at the pictures of the place, it upsets me, because I like was so excited about this vacation, and I thought it was just gonna be like a small little happy vacation. It was gonna be so nice. And then it upset me more, because I went to go check the receipt to see if they gave me like a credit or whatever, because they said they were going to give us some of our money back for the 2-night stay. So I look, and the 2-night stay, they basically, the total fee for like the place, and some of this is on me too, because I could have got a cheaper place, but I really want the fancy place. I was trying to ball out, you know. So it was like $700 for 3 nights, 4 days. With like all the fees and stuff, because there's a lot of fees, like cleaning fee, etc., hot tub fee, yada yada, right? So I knew it was that much. So by the time they gave me the credit, they only gave me a credit for like $300. I was like, so I'm paying $400 for 1 night of hell. What? So we called them and proceeded to bitch them out, because we're like, look, I don't understand why you're still charging me the full amount of fees, the full like amount of taxes. Why are you still charging me a hot tub fee when the hot tub wasn't cleaned before we got there? Like, why are you charging us all these, like, it was $200 or more in fees plus the 1-night stay. I'm like, I shouldn't have to be charged for pretty much any of it, because you didn't advertise that we didn't have heat to begin with. Like, that's a big factor. I'm sure a lot of people would have wanted to know that it didn't have heat before they got there. So we're still trying to manage that, because I'm like, I want more money than that back. I was planning on just paying like the fee for the like the night. That's what I thought I was going to pay, like whatever, the $100 to $200 for that night. That's all I was planning on paying, not like $400 for 1 night. That's insanity. Like, who pays $400 a night to stay somewhere and be miserable? Like, that makes no sense. So we're still fighting with them to try to get more money back than that, because we only got like 300 and something back for 2 other nights. So I'm like, should we be even charged all that? I was like, the place wasn't super clean. I mean, the bedding I could tell had been washed, so that was good. But like, there was still like dirt and stuff like that everywhere. The hot tub was dirty. I'm like, and to me, if it would have been a thing where like everything else was amazing, I would have got over it. I wouldn't even complain about it or anything. But it's like, you didn't have heat in the building. I feel like that is essential. Like, you really didn't have heat, like, for that space. So that's a pretty big factor. And to put in your ad that you have central and you don't, like, that's a lie. The wall unit's not central. Like, you really need to figure that out. And then plus it was also, so like the heating upstairs was here and the other unit was here. So it was like, all the heat's going to one spot because all the heat rises. It's not going down. So I mean, you're literally getting no heat in that space at all. So, it just didn't make any sense. So my video for the week, because it was not supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be nice. A really beautiful video. And now it's just turned into me complaining incessantly about it. But you can see, hopefully you can see my point. Like, I'm not just nuts. I feel like this whole thing was just stupid. Like, I should have just stayed home at this point. Like, what was the whole point? So here's my video for the week. Hopefully you guys don't have this happen to you. Yeah, I don't know. You guys are just smarter than me and more cautious about things. So you don't waste your money. So, yay. 2019, starting out with a bang. Oh my gosh, you guys, I also forgot to add too that, so the first night we stayed there, or the only night we stayed there, George also started getting a gout flare up. So it was like, it's just another sign we need to go. Oh, and one more thing. Oh, a tree almost hit the house before we left. So, it was just an experience, let me tell you, because all we hear is like, And I was like, oh my gosh, it must have snowed so much that like there's so much snow on the roof that it just fell off. No, it was a tree broke and almost hit the house. So that happened right before we leave. And then yeah, George getting that gout flare up because I'm like, he's driving, so if he gets a major gout flare up in his foot that he drives with, then we're hosed and we're gonna be stuck here. So that happened too. So it was like more signs to just cut our losses and get out. But it just sucks wasting money, especially when you think you're gonna have like a really bomb time and it turns into a complete nightmare. So yeah, just wanted to add that into the little video here too, because I just remembered that that also happened simultaneously.